it's not very, very common. It's also not particularly rare. But what I would like to talk about briefly is a claim in South Carolina that is called loss of companionship. A lot of, and there's no reason why you would know this, just if you're not an attorney. It doesn't affect most people's lives, but when a spouse is injured in South Carolina, the non-injured spouse who hasn't experienced the physical injury, for example, can have a cause of action against the at-fault party or the wrongdoer for what's called loss of companionship. And that includes really just numerous things, but essentially the change in their relationship as a result of the injuries. For example, loss of intimacy due to the injured spouse being in physical pain and not being able to be intimate with their spouse, not being able to help around the house in ways that they used to, and the spouse has to pick up those duties and alter their own schedule. It could include an injured person who is terrified of driving due to just the
PTSD.
Yeah, just the fear of having an accident that could be fatal, that could change the course of their life. Basically, the same thing that's already happened to them, the fear of that happening again. So when that does alter the course of their daily lives, alters their perspective and their personality in certain regards, the other spouse has a cause of action for loss of companionship. So, and really, you have a valid cause of action in a lot of cases. If you are noticing a change in your spouse's personality, for example, maybe outbursts of anger, frustration, closing in, Depression is one very common one because that can affect every single aspect of a household. It can affect the relationship between one another. It can affect the couple's social life. If the injured person is unable physically to take part in social activities due to pain, doesn't feel like doing anything due to depression, doesn't want to leave the house due to crippling anxiety, like you said, just the plethora of negative effects that are impossible to predict and that are different for every person that stem from PTSD or trauma-related psychological issues. So basically, that's the gist of this cause of action, and it's a really good thing that it is a recognized cause of action, both in common law and in South Carolina. It's statutory as well, because it really is the right of a spouse whose life has been impacted to hold the at-fault party accountable for that. It's a lot of times it doesn't come down just to medical bills. It doesn't come down to just physical impairment from the person that's injured. It comes down to how both spouses' lives have changed completely. Mm-hmm. If one spouse is having night terrors after an accident, or has to, toss and turn in the bed due to feeling pain in most positions that they try to sleep in, and that causes the other spouse to also have many sleepless nights. That's just one of many examples, and it's a pretty broad cause of action. So essentially, there's no specific definition for it, but the wording of the statute is loss of aid, services, society, etc. And basically all that comes down to how is your life and your relationship different, aka worse, than it was before this accident happened. So that's just an important thing for a spouse to know when they're experiencing the fallout from the injuries, mental and physical and emotional, that their loved ones are experiencing, specifically their spouse. Yeah, the cause of action is unfortunately only available for spouses, married couples. So that is one caveat.